And that's the key. So this is what a lot of people will say with all this resurfacing now is that, oh, this is just the thing that happens every year. You know, one year it's Manchester United, now it's PSG. People leak things, they want leverage, and then Florentino comes out and does his, you know, annual TV thing, and El Chiringuito and Jose Pedro reporting that, you know, Florentino wants him to stay, is going to offer a two-year contract, but ultimately also is open to him leaving. The reason why I think we don't need to mention a lot of that stuff is because, well, we don't really know what's true and what's not true. Some of these reports may be reliable, some of them are not. I think ultimately what happens in these situations is both parties will say things and it only means so much. And I think we all know how this game will work. I think the far more interesting discussion, whether they end up agreeing to something or not, is should Sergio Ramos be the exception to the rule? That's a more important or a more interesting discussion, rather, in my eyes. Because you just mentioned that he's going to be 36 and there's going to be miles on him. He's 34 now. He's turning 35 in March. By the time you re-sign him for a two-year deal, that's going to take him past his mid-30s, plus the Olympics, plus the Euros. And to me, there's a really good reason why Florentino doesn't give up deals at this stage of people's career. And I think given the current landscape, the financial landscape, and the salary you'd have to commit to him, and by the way, they reported 18 million from PSG. I really think that the club should think long and hard whether they want to match something like that. And I say that because you're going to fall into this weird spot soon. And by the way, if we extend Ramos for 2 years or not, a lot of people will be like, well, it's crazy. Like, we've seen how the team plays without Sergio Ramos. It's a disaster. 100% correct. The team is a disaster without him defensively, and even offensively, it's a disaster with him. And which points to inherent tactical flaws in the team and lack of pure goal scoring talent that you even suffer offensively when he's not in the team. But whether he leaves now or in 2 years, I don't know. In the relative scale of Real Madrid history, those 2 years are not going to be. It's not as long as you think. Essentially, is what I'm saying. So whether you want to start the post Ramos era now or in 2 years, I don't think in the grand scheme of things is going to make a huge difference. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong, and Ramos could lead us to a couple Champions League titles or something in the next 2 years. If so, then it's obviously worth it. But I think this goes back to another point, and that you brought up, because you're going to have to sign a defender anyway, in my eyes, because whether you want to trust Militao or not, I don't think he and Varane as a partnership are ready to be something. And if they are, it's going to take some time to develop that kind of chemistry and for them to grow comfortable. I really, really worry more than anything, more than their defensive abilities, I worry about the press resistancy of the team with those two together. Militao is not known for being that great on the ball. He has his moments. Varane, who is known for being good on the ball, has had a lot of egg on your face moments with the ball at his feet over the course of a few years, even predating the Manchester City thing. But ultimately, he's good enough on it. But I do worry about those two together, what that would look like, plus the future left back of Ferland Mendy and all that stuff. I think you're probably going to need some kind of leader, whether you want to sign that player now or in 2 years. But I think even if you sign Ramos for 2 years, you're going to need somebody else there to look ahead to the future. And if you want to sign someone like Upamecano, who we've been really high on, I'm really high on. I don't know if it's like the alternative of losing Ramos a year from now is not so bad if you can get a player like Upamecano now to start that process and start that transition. I just think that there's a good reason for Florentino dealing with players of Ramos's age the way he is. But then the question is Ramos the exception to the rule? Because Matt, you and I spoke about on the Sunday podcast about like Ramos in many ways is an exception. He and Ronaldo were the exceptions physically in Ancelotti's eyes and in so many people's eyes. And you and I have spoken before about like a 34-year-old Fernando Hierro versus a 34-year-old Sergio Ramos is like literally the difference between Hulk and Bruce Banner. Like it's that's how well Ramos has aged. So should he be the exception to the rule? And if Florentino does start making exceptions to the rule, is that going to create differences with other players who start getting into that age category? Luka Modric is coming up, Marcelo is coming up. So these are all just things that need to be considered.